Well, thank you so much for joining me. Again, telling everybody it's very sad to see the show end, but, do you feel fans will be satisfied with the conclusion?
You know what? It's going to be interesting because I think, it's a bittersweet thing wrapping up the show. Probably a little, it feels a little early. But I think it's bittersweet because we really don't want to go out on a bad note. We want to go out when the show is strong, as opposed to have the next season that we're stretching for story and sort of drag it out. And then I think that would be a bigger disappointment and a bit of much more of a letdown for the fans than the finish that we've got. And I think some people are going to be bitterly disappointed with what happens to people. Some people will be ecstatic. But it's definitely going to be people are definitely going to have an opinion about what happens in the end, one way or another. But I think ultimately it's a good send-off.
Do you read into a lot of that? Like I know social media and all of that, like fans are just rabid about their opinions. So they're going to tell you, like you said right away, if they love or hate something. So do you read into that?
No, not really. I mean, like everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. I've got strong opinions about things, and no one gives a shit about what I have to think or say. So I don't see why I should care about what other people say. And it's one of those things. It's difficult to get an indication of what people think en masse from Twitter because really it is a lot of the same people that want to engage on Twitter quite a bit. So it's good, engagement with those people. I'm a little bit ridiculous and slow when it comes to social media and computers and that. I tend to be outside I'm a bit outdoorsy, so my skills on a computer are not very good, and I'm probably not as adept at social media as I should be, but I like engaging the fans, but it doesn't. It's good if people have good opinions, strong opinions.
Can you talk about maybe a few ways, but I certainly think the show was like very trailblazing. They kind of set the pace for Cinemax and the original series. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, Cinemax, I'd never heard of Cinemax until I came onto this show, and it was one of those things where the prospect of being involved with a network that wanted to undergo a rebranding process that's obviously very appealing. To then be a part of a show which even the guys at the network said exceeded expectations, and I think they were thinking it was just going to be more of a straight action show, which I never saw it as. I don't think any of the cast really saw it as an action show. We always saw it as, I for one saw it as a drama right off the bat. So I think it added a little bit more depth to the show. And people, I think, responded to that, and I think that really helped the show. There's enough violence and adult content, and enough of the prerequisites of cable TV these days that it keeps the Cinemax, the built-in audience, happy. But it also, because I think the show is multi-layered, it allowed other people to come in, people that weren't familiar with Cinemax or maybe had the Skinemax idea in their head. It allowed them to come and visit Cinemax and sort of realize, it's a destination for original content and smarter content than maybe it was before. So it's been fantastic. We became their flagship show, and they were so supportive, and they've really they've been fantastic right from day one. So it's really been a great experience.
Absolutely. So is there anything personally that you're going to take away from your time spent on the series?
Yeah, this is my first show in the States, so it's funny looking from the outside, and it's always the idea of working over here was something I know a lot of people back home spend a lot of time and energy trying to get into the American industry, and so it's great to come over here and work on a show that has such a passionate fan base and has been relatively successful. So it's been fantastic, and I look forward to the next thing. But I'll always remember this really fondly as my first.
What other upcoming projects do you have in the works?
I got a couple of things going that I'm writing and co-creating with people back in New Zealand. and Australia. So I've got to keep those fires burning, and then taking meetings and auditions, and just sort of looking at material and weighing things up. I'm not in a rush. I don't feel like I'm not in a rush to jump into the next thing, and I'm just waiting for the right thing to come along and try to be a bit selective. In New Zealand, you get trained, you have to take the next job because there's only about 4 jobs a year. So it's a different situation. You know, we're getting a lot of good opportunities out of this show. So it's just about being patient and finding the right one, and then jumping back in.
You guys have a great
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you running back or are you gonna stay around? But you kind of answered that.
No, we're actually staying around. My wife and I, we've rented a place here in LA, so I have actually spent quite a bit of time and energy trying to get back to New Zealand in between seasons, and now with the show wrapping up, and it just feels like the right thing to do, you know, to be over here a bit more, and you know, so I'm sticking around.
For now.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me that easy. I'm like a weed. Once I'm in, I'm really hard to get rid of.
All right.
So is there anything you can tease us with for the final season?
You know, oh, that's just awful. It's just unnecessary. Anyway,
That looked wet.
it was sloppy and wet. That was like a Sicilian death kiss or something. Dirty old man. You know, the best way I could. It's a difficult season to. It's a difficult season to do press for because there are so many spoilers. So I think the best way for me to promote the season is to say that I'm slightly hamstrung in giving you much information about it, because it really, right from the word go, it's
lime green jacket.
there's spoilers. There's just great stuff that the fans are going to love, and like I don't want to ruin that. Like, and I'm not allowed to ruin that. So, but that in itself, hopefully, people will hear that and think, "Oh shit, I better check it out." But it is, you know, what I will say though is like it's a really different season. It's a very different season to the ones that have come before it, in that. We had a different creative team this season, and it's really added a different tone and flavor to the show, and it's much more internalized, whereas the first 3 seasons were, from Lucas's point of view anyway, about him trying to find his place in the world and really figure out. It was a very externalized point of view, and then the 4th season was much more about taking responsibility and dealing with the consequences of the mess he's made, really, and dealing with the results of his actions. So it's a far cry from the first 3 seasons. Of course, there's lots of punching and fighting and stuff, so it's not too different.
Stuff we come to expect.
Yeah. That's all there too. But then there's acting as well. But no, it was a really interesting season to do, and I think, you know, in that way, it's a little bit calmer. It's a little bit less crazy, and I think it actually deepens the experience. You know, it actually makes it from an audience perspective. I try and be objective. Of course, I can't be, but I think I've done a reasonable job of it when I've seen the material so far that's out, and it's. I actually think it's probably the strongest season yet. Yeah. No worries, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Kristyn, thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.